Okay, doc. So here is exactly the same thing as fetching on the client side. So what we're doing is we're sending request. You see this URL, right? We are reading this URL using a jQuery. We then set the URL. We set specific state to this URL. We then use this state in a fetch function to send a request to the Express server that will then filter the database by this parameter and then send us back a single instance of this data. Now, the problem, I'll show you the full code. Okay, so we don't need filtered data now. Okay, so the first thing is we need to have loading. All right, so when data is not yet fetched, it should simply display loading, please wait. So we've done that in here, you see? And also you need to have a condition where if data is not yet loaded, also loading, please wait. All right, so it only displays when data has returned. Okay, so only kind of only display rendered component with shite in it when data is not null, because at the moment it's null. All right, well, we can put it actually like this. Actually, we can put it like this. Data we can put it as like this, empty string, and this should still work, right? Yeah, you see it causes this error in here, but I'll explain it to you. I'll explain everything right step by step. All right, so the first thing we need to do is we need to onload, so use effect jQuery, read the page URL, and then set the state of the page URL to be whatever the URL of the page is, right? Now, the reason why we need to do it through a state, because we need to fire fetch function only when current URL actually changes. The issue is in here is that you're gonna run into a problem is that this code like loads on like sometimes on third re-render, sometimes on second re-render. You need to wait for it to first kick in. When it kicks in, we're gonna fetch data, right? So fetch data is standard code. So we're gonna send a request to the server, right? Server is going to extract. I'll show you actually the server side, right? So you see we have get app with parameters. Parameters get extracted, and then data is being returned only single instance of this. There are like in database there are 9 entries, so it only returns the entry that matches the criteria, which is a project name, right? It basically filters by project name. Okay, so now going back to this thing. All right, so then it returns the data. All right, when data is returned, now you have to remember that it will return an object with, oh, it's going to return an array with the object in it. So you need to set it to array 0, right? So it will work. So then we're going to set data to whatever the return is, right? So that's this, okay? And then we're going to set loading to false, okay? So this will kick this in, right? Now the final step is to use try and catch. If you do not use try and catch, what happens is on the first rotation, on first re-render, right, it will send the request with no current URL in it, right? Because I don't know, it's just that the way that it works, right? So you're gonna get a 404 error. I'll show you actually what's gonna happen. It still works, but the problem is it messes up your DOM. You see, it works, you're gonna get a error. You see, so we need to, but if you look in here, so we got a console log data. Um, let's just console log. Let's just console log this thing. You will see that it actually loaded, right? You'll just see that you see the data is here, right? It's available. The only problem is the error is blocking the DOM. So to avoid this, we want to move the error into the console log, right? And the way to do that is we use try and catch method of doing this, right? So now now the error has moved into the console log and it doesn't mess up your DOM, okay? So you see now here's the data, everything is working, just that you get the initial error on your first render. And that's about it, okay? This is cleaner code. I feel like this is a lot cleaner. So this is just another method of doing it, okay? Take care.